Hey everyone, we had a question from Soul Driver 7 that we wanted to answer real quick. They say, hey Magnified, love what you're doing. My parents brought me up on a kosher diet, but recently I've heard multiple arguments from both sides on whether we're able to eat unclean animals or not. I love trying new foods, so I'm curious if trying pork or seafood will be detrimental to my salvation or not. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for watching. We're really glad that you enjoy the show and that we're able to offer you something that's good and beneficial to your life. That's kind of what we pray for every time. So your support means a lot to us, and we're really glad you're enjoying it. Now, I fully believe, to get to your question, I fully believe that the command of God to refrain from eating unclean meats found in Leviticus 11 is still in effect today. We have a lot of resources on this topic, and we've linked them below, so I hope you'll go and check those out. That being said, answering your question with a flat yes or no is really difficult because our salvation is not determined by our works. We can't earn it by doing enough good things. But this is why I like your phrasing a lot, because you ask, can it be detrimental to my salvation? And to this I say, yes, especially depending on a person's attitude towards it. I think most people that follow the food laws found in Leviticus 11 have a story of slipping up one time or just not reading a label carefully enough. This has happened to me before, and I think it happens to a lot of us. But this is not an attitude of trying to disobey God. But the reality is, to transgress the law, which is to sin or break the commands of God, is to have separation with God. Now, of course, for that, when we sin, there's forgiveness and there's mercy and there's love that God offers up to us. But anything he commands us out of love for us. He doesn't command us to not eat unclean foods because he wants us to miss out on something good. From a biblical perspective, these foods were not actually foods to begin with. They were not things that were considered edible. In the same way that if someone offered me up a really good looking piece of sheet metal, I'd still look at it and say, I'm not going to eat that. That's not food. It's just not in the same category. So we want to be careful on one extreme, realizing that good works don't earn us salvation and obedience doesn't save us. Jesus Christ does. But on the other extreme, we want to be careful because we don't want to go so far as to say, well, I can disobey God and his commands and that's fine because he'll just forgive me. Paul covers this in Romans chapter 6 when he says, shall we continue in sin so that grace may abound? Certainly not. He answers his own question there. God is after our hearts, and he wants us to desire a good relationship with him more than chase after our own desires. So anytime we shift our focus away from that goal, it's not that that destroys our relationship with God immediately, but it's certainly not a conducive mindset for a healthy relationship that he desires to have with us. Hopefully that's helpful.